Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I think this is going to be the more or less. I think the format you will have for the real thing, which is you have only next week, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's let us start off perhaps this particular uh, mentorship program by perhaps we can ask you to introduce yourself, to tell us what is it that where you come from and what is it that attracts you to the civil service.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. So, my name is Arpana Gill. I was born in a small village of Haryana. I received my primary education from there. For better education facilities, I shifted to Bhiwani city, and so further schooling was completed from there. In graduation, I pursued as Bachelor of Science from MCM DAV College, affiliated to Punjab University, Chandigarh. So I like to be creative with the dance styles like Kathak and fusion. And so I also like to call myself as an amateur poetry writer. So I'm a believer of dedication and
Which
hard
language
work.
do you write in?
So I try to write in both Hindi and English.
Okay.
So,
You are a believer and you said.
so I am a believer of dedication and hard work.
Okay. Okay. Now tell me, in your life, who would you think are your major ideal sort of role models?
So in my personal life, it has been my Nanaji as my grandfather. He was a former sarpanch and he was involved in community work. So he is the one who sown that seed of civil services in my mind in the very early stages of my life. And so if I go beyond my personal life, it is APJ Abdul Kalam who has inspired me a lot throughout my life.
So your inspiration comes mainly from public service rather than other things like religious, spiritual figures, or is it equally, it extends to all?
So in the religious and spiritual form, I believe that I'm more of an agnostic person who is in this journey of exploring that is there a big power. I know that there is something which is holding the universe together, but sir, I'm on the path of exploring it more and more. So sir, I call myself an agnostic in that manner.
Would you see that, in a sense, you find, have you seen, is it your experience that the average people in, say, that you have come across, have over the past years of over the past, say, 10 years, 15 years, moved more towards a kind of religious dogmatism, or they are moving away from it? What do you see is happening in general inside in the country, particularly in North India? What is your experience of the leavening, as it were, of society as a whole, away or in the direction of, is it towards religion or away from religion?
So I come from a very spiritual family. So since childhood, I have seen this part of religion and spirituality being part of everyday life. So, but when I came out, like specifically when I went for the graduation, I realized that yes, people have different kind of opinions. It's not about religiosity. People try to explore more in their lives. But sir, in recent past, we can see that there are things, and I would like to say that communal gap is definitely going on in the country. But
Going on in the sense that it remains the same, or is it going in any?
so in recent years, we have seen that gap increasing. I think sir, religion has something become center of many issues, and we can definitely say sir, religion is also part of politics nowadays. So sir, I think this excessive religion in every aspect of life is not very good for us.
But the Constitution of India ensures a secular state. How do you see the development of secularism, as it were, from say the early years of our independence to today?
So definitely when we became independent, we had a lot of pressure in respect to many aspects of making country better. So I think that's when we went for secular, and even our forefathers, they really tried hard to make this country secular, and this is one of the reason that if we compare ourselves with the neighbors, we are more stable country and we are a successful democracy today. Sir, but over time, these aspects of religion has come over. I think, sir, I would rather say that it was more of a politically motivated thing, because sir, I think when religion is part of individual's life, it has been always, so it did not impact to society much. But sir, when it became a social or center of politicization, then sir, it created a problem, and we can see that many issues from Ayodhya to communal disharmony nowadays in different states going on.
Is this polarization growing? You think it will grow further, or then when there is it will reach a certain plateau when economic development, reach a certain stage of economic development?
So I think right now it is acting as a more of distractor from the real issues we are having. So, but eventually when people will realize that what life makes fruitful is economic growth, social development. So I think that realization will soon make it less effective in the society as whole.
Now, do you see a place in this within this status, within this particular background for a uniform civil code in India?
So I think in various jurisprudence by Supreme Court, there have been some kind of uniformity we have reached, specifically in the cases of inheritance, like sir, property inheritance, and also sir, when triple talaq case happened. So in marriage factor also there is a sort of uniformity. Sir, but I think if we put a blanket uniform civil code, there will be some kind of insecurities in people from different religion. Since we have preached secularism, so I think, sir, right now we are not ready, as also said by Law Commission of India. Right now I don't think so, sir, we are ready to bring uniform civil code.
For example, just yesterday or a few days ago, there was an announcement in some state about not allowing loudspeakers outside mosque, in the mosque, for example, for them to, the azan. Does that represent intrusive, does it represent a kind of intrusion into a religious practice?
So there have been incidents from being namaz, being prayed on the roads when places were not given to them, or sir, for that matter at some Hindu festivities also. So I don't think so. One thing that we should keep in our mind is the public order should be maintained. And if we keep that thing in the priority, I think, sir, other issues will be solved definitely.
So you think that dogma is really, and this kind of religion is used mainly for political purposes?
So in my opinion, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Arpana, when I entered, I saw you brushing up yourself for the interview.
Yes, sir.
What were you reading at that time?
Sir, I have some notes for my hobbies and.
What was the topic you were reading on?
Sir, I was reading about Kathak.
Kathak. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I won't ask you because I'm not aware of it. Sarpanch,
Yes, sir.
your Nana.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, is there a conflict in implementation of development schemes between the district collector and the Sarpanch as how they will be implemented, which are the schemes to be taken up? Does the district collector may face obstacles in his viewpoints, in his desire, aspiration to implement schemes?
Sir, I think in our democracy, when we have decentralized system, this issue will always be there, be it between center, state, or for that matter, district collector or sarpanch. Sir, but I think ultimately we need coordination, and this happens. District collector has definitely more power than sarpanch. And sir, I think if the consensus of local public is there, the schemes which are suitable for them will be implemented definitely.
Okay. See, as long as there is consensus, there is no issue. But when, you see, do you agree, Acha, with the evolution of local self-government, the powers and authority of the district collector has eroded and diluted? Do you agree with this statement? And therefore, his effectiveness in the delivery mechanism?
So I think we cannot give the whole credit, or for that matter, we cannot blame this local self-government system for the ineffectiveness that is happening in the service delivery. So I think there are many other factors. So, but I don't think so. When we are making a constitutional provision for a specific level, then it is definitely a way forward and a progressive step. Sir, in my opinion, this was a good step, and I think this has increased the cohesion between both the main district collector and sarpanch, because he is now he has some of constitutional backing.
Did
right
you
now.
have any direct exposure, because you revered, and it was very nice to hear that you looked up at your Nana being a sarpanch?
Yes, sir.
It was a nice thought. But did you see any interrelationship between your Nana and the district officials? How was it?
Sir, I did not see that directly because
Did
I
he
was
ever
very
tell
young.
you about it? Did he ever talk to you about it?
Yes, sir, he used to talk to me about the basic issues that people face, that people from different section. I have seen people from different section coming to him. So he had this capacity to work not only for human beings but also for animals. So I think that this kind of work, which was done for the benefit of a larger society and even non-human beings also.
Okay.
So this
I've
was
got you.
something.
On this issue, how do you feel the reservation for women in local self-government? How do you think, has it really empowered the women? Has it really worked? Or are they just a front?
So definitely it has worked, because we can see the very clear results. Definitely there are some issues. For example, Pati Pradhan thing in the society, where some women are considered only the nominal head and not the real ones, because otherwise either father, if they are very young, or then husband is the one who is handling the real executive powers. But sir, we have seen that women with the very distinguished graduation or sir PhD holders are coming forward, and they are youngsters, they know their rights, and they are really doing good for the society.
Now let's go on to a different area.
Yes, sir.
Ukraine has definitely been a victim in this Russian war.
Yes, sir.
Can you think which country, though not at all connected with Ukraine or Russia, is indirectly a collateral victim? Can you think of?
So one I can think of is Syria. So reason being, there are many Syrian soldiers who are being posted in this war for the sake of
Can you
money.
think of any other country from, say, a humanitarian angle?
So I think many European countries, because they are facing the influx of refugees, so they are somehow directly or indirectly affected.
Another country, can you think? Just think. It's an open question. Which otherwise would have got the attention of the world, but that attention has got diverted.
So definitely Afghanistan.
Well said.
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that
yes, sir.
they
Yes,
have
sir.
been a collateral victim?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Because the amount of focus, humanitarian aid, okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Now, you stay somewhere near Honda Chowk.
Yes, sir.
Tell me something as to how the auto sector in our country, how is it?
So
How is it, is it moving at a... First of all, tell me, why is auto sector considered to be a very important sector in an economy? And how our auto sector is progressing or developing in our country?
yes, sir. So in manufacturing sector, that one specific domain which is working really good, not only, so if I go very specifically, so the growth of Haryana, which we see today, is the Honda sector, or this say auto sector is the main reason behind that. And so Gurgaon has become as a hub for the manufacturing, which is not only good for NCR region, but country as whole, is the credit goes to automobile sector. So this is the sector which is, we are manufacturing automobiles, and this is the future is in the automobiles. Definitely, we have this increased footprint and penetration and demand for automobiles. So I think so this is why this is very important sector for country as an economic.
What do you think is the present problems with the auto sector presently?
So in my opinion, I think FDI incoming of the new
No,
players.
there's something which is very specific, which is hampering the growth of the auto sector, not only in India but the world at large.
So,
In the last few years.
In the last.
so I'm not very sure.
And to some extent, it is connected with the Ukraine-Russia war also in a very indirect way.
Sir, I think then
Semiconductor chips.
Okay, yes, sir. Sir, now I can get that.
Semiconductor
Yes,
chips.
sir.
So one last question. why do you think, what is the most important, there is something to connected with your parents. What do you think is one of the major constraints in our having trade dialogue with European Union and reaching a trade agreement?
So I think dairy sector is one of the issue. So even today.
Why are we so protective about the dairy sector? If we are opening out all sectors,
So I think first thing is that we are second largest producer of milk and milk related products.
so
sir,
we should feel confident that we can take on the challenge.
Sir, but I think we are not very much advanced in processing sector right now. What we are producing, a lot of that we are consuming already.
But will not competition improve better delivery to the consumer? Are we not interested in delivery to the consumer, or are we only interested in the producer?
No, sir, we are, but we have not reached that state of processing sector till now that we can open it for our, because definitely their imports are going to be cheaper. So the market we have in the domestic area will be very narrow down, and this is going to hamper the small farmers in large. So, sir, I think this is the right decision for the time
Thank you.
being.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
being a student of psychology, tell me any 3-4 values which you consider the civil servant should have.
So, first, perseverance. Sir, second thing is the integrity of personality. The person should remain who he is in the different domains of profession as well as personal life. And so, third thing is the emotional intelligence. Definitely, we need that in any administrator. So, fourth thing, in my opinion, will be sir, acceptance to the as well as the traditional outlook, also the modern outlook. So he needs to make this cooperation and coordination between all the facets of society we are living in.
Okay. So, there was a new bureaucrat, I think he was posted as SDM somewhere in Haryana, and there was a video which was released in which he was said,
Yes,
Sir
sir.
for the farmers ka, and something
Yes.
like that. So, what's
Yes,
your
sir.
comment on that? What
Sir,
leads
it-
to that condition in which he spoke about these things, and whether you support that particular thing or not?
So definitely, I will never support that incident because that shows the lack of emotional intelligence and empathy for the people. So when we become an administrator, the first duty we have in our mind is protecting the people and taking care of that. So, but when farmers were protesting, they had this right to protest, which is provided by our constitution. So, in that middle of that, there might be some disturbances and there will be some breach of law and order, but it should be handled very cautiously in such scenarios, and so this incident will never be welcomed.
What was the action taken by the government against that bureaucrat?
So I think he was, sir, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact action taken by.
Can I? What action will you take?
So I
Since
think,
you said that he did not do the right thing.
yes, sir. So I think I would set up a committee first to actually see in the situations, because sometimes things are shown half and we always
What
know
was the
that-
age of that person? That's a hint to you.
So what? Sorry, sir.
What was the age of that officer? How many years of service had he put in?
Sir, I did not see that video. I just heard that news, sir. So I.
He was a very young. I think that was his first posting. First posting.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think.
So that's a hint to you as a boss.
Yes, sir. Okay,
Don't you
sir.
think age does matter when you are handling such issues?
Sir, I think along with age,
Sorry,
what matters
I'm
is
kidding.
maturity. So if the person has this humility and compassion for people, and he has this understanding of his own emotional states, I think, sir, that what matters more
Okay,
than the
thanks.
age. Thank you, sir.
There is a lot of, we have ethics paper, a lot of training, 1 year training in Labasna, then we have district training. But according to you, was the lacuna because of which such incident happens? We see a lot of recent incidents in Assam also, in Arunachal Pradesh also. The DC was not trusting its police, and also a lot of such violence by the district collectors or fresh IAS officers is happening. What is the reason behind that?
Sir, in my opinion, what we read in ethics as well as what we are being trained in Labasana, I think, sir, it is somehow different from the real situation the person faces on the field. So, in my opinion, what can be done is that we can find out some days or some months where people are given actual situations, and then their emotional capabilities or emotional questions can be understood better, and if they need specific guidance in a particular domain, then it can be provided, sir.
Okay, one last question. How you will use your knowledge of psychology in administration?
So I think psychology is all about understanding behavior. So when we are going from policy formulation to implementation, what we have in the center is population, common people. So we need to bring the behavior change in them, also acknowledged by the economic survey that behavior is something now we need to focus along with the economy and service delivery.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Arpana.
Good morning, sir.
You mentioned that you are a believer of hard work and dedication,
Yes, sir.
but you also called yourself agnostic.
Yes, sir.
How can these two things be reconciled?
So I think these are two very different things. Being agnostic is someone who does not believe in that there is someone. I believe that there is a superpower. There is a big power which is holding this universe together.
Okay.
But sir, I am not very aware that what it is. It is a God. It is a matter. It is an energy. What it is, sir. So I believe that I am on that path of exploring different options in life. And sir,
Okay.
when it comes to dedicated and hard work, so this is what these are the traits I think I was born with, and I have shown that throughout my life. So, sir,
Acha, how is that? Can you recite some example?
yes, sir. So till 5th standard, I studied from a government school. When I shifted to city, I did not know anything in English except for the basic names and
Fair enough.
alphabets. So within 3 months, I had to learn that because I was admitted in a English medium school. So working days and day and night, I think I achieved that. So secondly, also during my schooling and graduation, and now, sir, I have been preparing for this civil services for 3 to 4 years.
So these values are very important.
Yes, sir.
But when you mentioned the qualities or the values of civil servants,
Yes, sir.
you did not mention either of these two qualities.
So because I think these are the crux, these are the basic, and I thought sir would like to hear some more values. So that's why, sir.
Okay.
I think dedication and hard work
Okay.
should be there in the
Okay.
first place itself.
Okay, fair enough. You know, Indian philosophical thought, since
Yes.
you called yourself agnostic,
Yes, sir.
do you think that has been traditionally theistic or it has been agnostic?
So it has never been agnostic.
It has never been agnostic.
No, sir. In my opinion, I think from being from different like Jainism, Buddhism, Hinduism, or we go for. So and further different philosophies came. So there was this target in our head that there is a Paramatma, and we have our Atma, and we tried to bring different kind of combination and permutations.
Are you sure Buddhism and Jainism believe in some pre-existence of some Paramatma?
So not Jainism, Buddhism. I was talking about the different philosophies we had.
Which philosophy?
So
Tell me one which
Advait-
believes in the existence of superpower
So
or
I
God.
think Dvait and Advait philosophies.
No, it doesn't. It only calls for a reality. It doesn't. It never uses the word God, Advait.
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that. I'll go back and read.
Okay, fair enough. Acha, you know, you also mentioned that religion and politics should be, you know, that I could infer from your answer. They should be separated. Have you read the works of Gandhiji? What he has?
Sir, I did not mean that it should be separated. Sir, but I believe when it comes to the welfare of people
Okay.
and policy formulation and for the broader good for the people, it should not become as a hurdle in what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to make India a better place. But
Okay.
sir, we can see that very much of intermixing of religion with politics is bringing a communal disharmony in our country, and which is not good, sir, for
Fair
us
point.
in longer.
Fair point. But generally speaking, this secularism
Yes.
in Western countries and secularism in India, they are very two different concepts.
Yes, sir.
Can you make that distinction?
Yes, sir. So, in Western culture, secularism all about the complete separation of religion and state. So, in India, we preach that every religion should be respected equally, and we are not making complete distinction between state and religion. So, we believe that if there is a need, then state should take actions and steps to make religion as a better thing for the people. So,
Okay.
I think this is the basic difference.
Okay. You mentioned Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam as your
Yes.
role model.
Yes, sir.
Have you read any of his books?
Yes, sir. So
Which one?
his autobiography only I have read because I share my birth date with him.
Okay.
So from that to
Hmm.
his aspirations and his faith, that is
Okay.
something that has really motivated me throughout.
And one last question: what
Yes,
has
sir.
been his contribution to India's nuclear program?
Sorry, sir.
Nuclear program, India's
Yes, sir.
nuclear program.
Yes, sir.
What has been his contribution?
So I think he started with the PSLVs, SLV 3, which was a failure, and then it gave him, not only him, the wings, but to the complete space sector to bring more changes in that. So in nuclear power, it was his such a integrated guidance program which we have, under which we have developed 5 different missiles from Agni, Prithvi, Nag, to Akash. So he is the one main major architect of that program. It was his dream.
You mentioned space, you mentioned missile, you
Yes.
didn't mention nuclear program. My question was specifically for nuclear program.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not
Okay.
exactly aware of
ठीक है,
it.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Ratna. I'll go on directly to your hobbies. Now, since you were preparing for it,
I'm just having a reading.
I knew you will ask and then
so how long are you learning Kathak?
Ma'am, actually, I learned it in school. It was also my subject in 11th.
So how did you come to choose about this subject?
Ma'am, I was always interested in dance. I feel that it was in my hemoglobin when I was born. So, ma'am, when I got opportunity to put a dance as a subject, so ma'am, I went for it.
So did you pursue it even after school, since it was one of your passions, I believe?
Yes, ma'am. I was doing it already, and then also after school during my graduation, I used to dance, and I still do that when I get this opportunity. No, ma'am. I practice. I try to create some kind of my things with the fusion of Kathak as well as some folk dances and freestyle.
So, do you think what is the importance of a guru in learning classical art forms?
Definitely, ma'am. The guru is equally equated with the god when it comes to classical dances, and also in every aspect of life. And ma'am, Kathak is what it is today because of the gurus we had back then.
Name 5 gurus of Kathak.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Sambhu Maharaj and Birju Maharaj from Lucknow Gharana. Ma'am, also Sitara Devi has been one of the gurus from the Banaras Gharana. Ma'am, Lachan Maharaj was also there, who brought in the
Lachu
aspect
Maharaj.
of Lachu Maharaj was there, who brought the aspect of Tandava in the Kathak. Ma'am, as far as I can remember this.
So, do you have idea of anyone in the services who is also pursuing Kathak? It's a very important name.
Used to do Kathak and who actually
Is currently also
currently does it.
currently pursuing Kathak as her main forte.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm not aware of this.
Have you heard of Shivana Narayan, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I have heard of.
All right. You mentioned gharanas.
Yes.
How many gharanas are there?
Ma'am, main are 3 gharanas, Lucknow, Jaipur and Banaras Gharana.
Right. And what is the difference between Lucknow and Jaipur gharana?
Ma'am, Jaipur Gharana focuses on footwork, the speed and the footwork. Ma'am, on the other hand, Lucknow Gharana is more related to Ras, which is I think it is more about your hand movements and your expressions and expressing your things, which we basically call as Abhinay, which was really popularized by Birju Maharaj. Ma'am, this is the basic difference.
Treaty is written on the basis of which all the dance and music, etc., have emanated. That especially Kathak also. So, what is that treatise? On
Natya Shastra.
Natya Shastra. Who wrote it?
Ma'am, Bharat Muni.
Bharat Muni. All right. So, you also talked about Tandav.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there another counterpart to Tandav?
Yes, ma'am. It just skipped from my mind.
Lasya.
Lasya, yes, ma'am.
So, what do you mean by Lasya, and how Tandav and Lasya are different?
Ma'am, Tandav is a masculine form of the Kathak. Specifically, these are the substyles of Kathak. But after that, different classical dances have adopted this differentiation. So, ma'am, Kathak, when we come to Tandav, it is more of a masculine kind of style where athletics and different kind of.
So, is it associated with certain deity or?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely Shiva is the one who is known for the Tandav. And ma'am, on the other hand, Lasya is more of feminine culture. even if one dancer can have both, and the one person who could really be very good in this art was Birju Maharaj. He could handle both the things together, and it was really very beautiful.
Tell me, did you hear of Nandini Singh? Do you know which school she belongs to of these three?
Nandini Singh.
Nandini Singh.
Sorry, sir.
Must be before your time, isn't it? Very. She's probably the same. Yeah, Birju Maharaj ka hi hai na, that same, but not from the same school. She's from the Jaipur, this thing, isn't it?
I think it was she was after Sitara Devi.
No, just Sitara Devi is from the Banaras.
Yes,
And
sir.
she-
Jaipur
Nan-
specific.
हाँ,
Okay, sir.
Jaipur
I don't
style.
know about that, sir.
All right, just one more question on dance. Is you see COVID had had a frontal assault on all the performing artists,
Definitely.
and they faced many challenges because they could not perform, and therefore it is directly related to their livelihood. Do you see government taking up any measures during the COVID time to support the artists?
Yes, ma'am. I think artists specifically for dance, ma'am, are you asking? No, for performing arts. Okay, for performing arts, ma'am, I think there were, I don't know about the specific government initiative, but many NGOs came forward, and even the live, or I would say like concert on Zoom and YouTube live, things were happening where performers could perform at their places, and that can be a really like digital concert were there, ma'am. I think that was one
So
thing.
do you
which
think
we
that some sort of pension or some minimum basic income should also be given to the artist to support them? Or do you think that it is better to give them, cultural assets? For example, if you're talking about Kathak, wouldn't costumes, and whatever the accessories, etc., directly give them in kind rather than giving them, fiscal incentives?
Ma'am, I believe that giving them the things that they need, because ma'am, as we always say that in basic income or direct cash transfer, there can always be diversion. So if we really want to make sure that this is something invested in the art, then ma'am, I think the government should provide costumes and everything, that basic necessities which are needed by an artist.
How would the government gauge what each artist want? Shouldn't we leave it to the artist's choice?
Yes, ma'am, it should be left to the artist's choice.
Money and they can buy on their own?
Ma'am, in my opinion, things would be a better option, and the choice can be given to the artist, because there are very limited things, ma'am, from instruments which they use like tabla, manjira, pakhawas. They are almost similar in all the classical dances. Ma'am, costumes can be something that can be chosen, and there are things coming in the costumes, like creativity is happening. So these things can be in this way, ma'am. I think we have.
What else apart from costumes and etc.? Because you give them costumes, that does not ensure that they would have bread on the plate.
Ma'am, then it should be the duty of government to make art something that they can earn bread from it. Ma'am, because we are keeping arts, performing arts specifically, for the sake of entertainment only, and it does not happen always. So ma'am, these should be respected as a profession and not mere entertainment purpose. Then the problem
Just
can be
last
solved.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that classico fusion you are interested in.
Yes, ma'am.
What is classico fusion? Classico folk.
Ma'am, classical folk, this is the basically fusion of taking classical, which I prefer Kathak, because I have studied that and I have learned that, and inculcating few of the elements from folk dances.
So are
as
there
well as
rules
folk.
to it?
No, ma'am, this is something left to your creativity, and that's why I really
So
like
don't
this.
you think you are diluting the essence of classical by introducing elements of folk?
Ma'am, today the era in which we are living, we have seen that the real classical dance is not progressing the way it would have been.
But then you mentioned that it should not be for entertainment.
Yes, ma'am, but people should come forward. Ma'am, we should accept the realities of youth also. People are interested in the beats, very different kind of beats that are coming. Ma'am, we can maintain the heredity that we have received from the Kathak by inculcating few of the recent beats, or I would say the beats which youth prefer today. In that way, ma'am, the basic essence of Kathak will also be saved. And it will also be an interest area for the major youth, because that is what we really need to attract today.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have, as you said, you're reaching the final dates, as it was. 13th is your interview. So you've actually, I think you're peaking very well. We were very impressed by both the balance as well as the poise that you have shown. And in a sense, control over your views as well as your ability to argue for your own point of view, which is very, very, I think it's very good. Your knowledge of the facts, etc., fairly, I think it's quite, more than adequate for, and I think you'll do very well. I'm sure that at this state of preparation, we are all convinced that you'll be very good. You'll do quite well and to the satisfaction. Now, you've been very, very careful and steady in terms of your response. You've not been hurried, which is exactly what you do. At the same time, you've also been natural. I think